Ladies and gentlemen, children of all ages, we're back once again for another episode of
Trapped Under Plastic, the podcast for the miniature hobby enthusiast. And we are coming to you from our individual basements today, separating ourselves as to not get crap in the comment section, but also just for the good of humanity.
It's about 6 of one, half dozen of the other, isn't it?
Yeah. We're trying it out. We're seeing if it works. We're concerned that it's going to affect our ability to interact in a meaningful way and to kind of have that fun charisma that we like to think exists in our podcast. Maybe it doesn't exist.
We tell each other that it does, so we can keep doing this. Yeah, and that's our biggest hesitation with this, isn't it? It's like, oh gosh, we just talking like we're hanging out and face to face and those things, and doing this virtually makes us a little nervous. So,
right.
Let us know, in the comments, what do you guys think? And if you're going to be like, yeah, it isn't as good, just be honest with us. I mean, it may take us a couple episodes. Hopefully, this is all over in a couple episodes and we don't have to worry about it, but bear with us.
Yeah. Someone does have something to gain from this working out. If this does work out, this virtual style of recording the podcast, my wife is going to be thrilled because she wants to move us away from Minnesota to the Pacific Northwest or somewhere. So,
well,
you, John.
Just have her. Well, we'll screw it up on purpose. Then is what you're saying.
She edits the podcast, so I think this plan is already screwed before it's hatched.
Right. Dang it.
We got any stories today, John?
Oh yeah. Why don't you talk about the LA class? Last episode we were talking about, things are probably going to change. We're not sure how they're going to change, what it's going to look like, but now we have some more details to share.
Yeah, 2 weeks ago the situation was different than it is now. So we changed the California class to be October 17th and 18th, pushing it back a couple months. So if you are already signed up for that class, you got an email from me explaining the change. And we just pushed it back because of the coronavirus. Hopefully it'll be more calm in the future and we'll be able to travel. Only time will tell. It's slowing down all of our plans. We wanted to do 4 classes this year, and we're definitely not going to be able to do that, which is okay.
Yeah.
But we were looking forward to getting better at teaching and experiencing that and seeing more people out in wherever they live.
Yeah, if we can get 2 done this year, I would consider it a victory.
Mm-hmm.
More than likely, it might just be this one this year. But, if things stay on the uptick and we're seeing some positive things around the country in the U.S. here and around the world, it's still not all sunshine and butterflies, but we're seeing some light at the end of the tunnel. And, if we're not going to have a bunch this year, we'll start planning and get them scheduled for 2021. And so folks will get plenty of notice if we're going to be in their neck of the woods. They can sign up for those October seats, right?
Absolutely. There are 4 seats left for that class.
Yeah.
Still got some space. And maybe by next year, there'll be a new miniature we're painting.
What are you talking about?
I got a little something in the works. Just started getting some concepts done for a new miniature, and that is all I'm going to say about it. So I'll keep it a surprise.
Yeah, big surprise. Scott only likes 2 kinds of miniatures. One's vampire, and the other one is wood elves. So
you're ruining it right now. Stop.
Listeners, this isn't news to listeners of the podcast here, Scott. So
right.
I mean, an elf could be a million different things. So
sure,
I'll assume that whatever this elf ends up being is not going to be what we expect from a traditional elf. Right?
I didn't share the concept art with you yet.
You didn't, but I got the email from being one of your patrons.
Oh, duh. Oh, right. Yeah. Okay. So okay. All right. Never mind. Cat's out of the bag.
Yeah.
Quarantine spending. John wanted to talk about what you have been stress buying during this time.
Yeah, and it is not a small amount.
What have you been buying?
Anything. So I'm curious how others are taking this time in regards to spending or lack thereof. Can't go to friendly local hobby store, even if they're open. You probably shouldn't be. You want to support them. Find out if they do curbside delivery or you can order. I saw on Facebook yesterday, The Source is doing that now. They're setting up a web store in Minnesota here, and they'll deliver. So you can just call in or email in your orders.
Dude, I could get delivery Dominoes and delivery minis.
Right. So
That's
I'm
insane.
thinking, I mean, if I get bored one day, so I get kind of stir crazy and I need to just like get in my truck and drive sometimes. Not anywhere. I don't actually end up anywhere. I don't leave my vehicle. But I kind of want to just order something from them, have it delivered to your house, and then find out when it's going to get delivered and then just show up and take it.
Like I'm never aware of it. Like you just appear and then leave with
Right.
with minis. Okay.
It's just an arm full of Games Workshop boxes. And he's like, "What is happening?" I'm like,
I remember ordering an entire other army of OCR Bone Reapers.
No, I own all those now. This is part of the stress spending. It's, if these giants come through and they're cool. Ooh, baby, 4 models, new army.
Dude, you are the kind of person who's always about that new thing on the block, and you're always about getting that new army. When are you gonna pump the brakes here, John?
Well, I think I blame Vincey V and Tom from Warhammer Weekly, because every Wednesday I watch their show and they just get me so excited about every single thing. Like they're just like, oh yeah, we're talking about, we made these conversions of these crazy Cities of Sigmar armies that don't use any stupid looking humans and this kind of stuff. They're just like all badass in the history and the lore and the reasoning behind why Tom's new Lumineth elves aren't going to be made with those models, and it's totally true to his, like hypothetical reason why they would be this way. And so it gets me like, different models, different armies. So I blame them.
Different ideas.
Ideas, right? Ideas. I got nothing but time for ideas right now. So I'm curious if others are spending a lot of money these days, because I sure am. I bought a new airbrush. I bought that Iwata Eclipse, HPCS. I own 2 airbrushes. One is the Sotar 2020, which is the second one I've ever bought. The first one was an old Posh. It was a piece of garbage, and I got rid of that thing. You and I had that same Posh, remember?
Oh, the one that's like yellow or golden or whatever.
Yep.
Dang it, what's that one called? I can't remember, but yeah, I still have mine.
You know what? And I think like, gosh, that thing was a piece of garbage. But in hindsight, it was my first airbrush, and I probably didn't know what the hell I was doing. And if I still had it now, it would probably just be fine. So I have a Sotar, which is great, but it's tiny, tiny needle and tiny, tiny cup. So it's not ideal for, painting your everyday use.
Right. Yeah. I did a test with the Sotar. I think I told you about this, where it was like, let's see how fast it takes to empty a full cup of white primer with the 4 different airbrushes, and like the Patriot like blew through it in like 15 seconds, and then like in the middle were the HPCS and the Harder and Steambook Evolution, and then I didn't even finish the Sotar one after like 2 minutes of just holding the trigger down, because I was like, this is taking so freaking long. So for volume, the Sotar, yeah, it definitely struggles, but that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes sense. So then I bought, maybe 6 months ago, I bought a cheap Masters airbrush with the purpose of using that for just like quick blasting out primer and then running enamels and oils and stuff through it. Like, so if I destroy it and I bust through those O-rings, I don't give a shit. It was $19. But then after using that, I'm like, gosh, it sure would be nice if I had a more everyday use one that I can do larger work with instead of having to bust out the Sotar. And so I'm like, I just want the best one. So I bought that. And I'm still waiting for my quick disconnect to come in the mail. So I haven't actually used it yet. It's sitting over there in the box. So I bought that.
It might be a while before that shows up.
I hope soon. I got the airbrush super fast. I got those little what I called a prison shank. You know that little the nozzle cleaner.
Yeah.
I got that in the mail in like 3 days, but I haven't gotten my quick disconnect yet. So I'm waiting on that. So I did that.
Okay.
I bought some. We had some Adepticant stuff that was going on. So I tried to help out some companies. I bought some random things here and there. And I put in a big order at P3. I don't think I told you about this yet.
No, you haven't. A lot of these things I didn't know. So after every single thing you said, I was like, oh, okay, he's done now, and I can start talking.
No.
Then you just kept saying things that you just kept buying. And I was like,
No.
God damn, John.
Yeah, I didn't. I'm not done.
I remember when you were like, I need to buy something. And I was like, oh, okay. And then you're like, oh, I'll buy that Minotaur model that I like, the Ogroid Thermitage, or whatever it is.
Myrmidon.
Myrmidon. And that sounded like a good idea to me, and that was the last I heard of it. And then all of a sudden you bought an airbrush and then a million other things. You bought that book too, didn't you? The Color Mixing Bible?
Yes.
Yeah, so John sent this book to me, the Color Mixing Bible, which was I didn't realize it at the time, but I've read it at this point. Well, not the entirety of it, but 80% of the book is all just mixing colors with other colors. So think of it this way: a chapter all about oils, and it's like, okay, here is the yellow oil color, and here is a massive chart about what happens when I mix it with this color, and then there's like a bazillion rows mixing yellow with a bazillion different colors, and then like the row going down is like what happens when the yellow I'm mixing isn't pure yellow, and it's like yellow mixed with white or yellow mixed with black. And so it's like oils, they do that same thing for like red, yellow, blue, purple. They do the same thing with gouache, same thing for watercolor, same thing for acrylic. It's freaking crazy. But the first 30 pages of the book have really, really valuable information in it. And I really liked reading that stuff.
Yeah, it's heavy stuff, but it's also not like just expanded upon to a level that is just overwhelming like most of these books do. It's like they'll take a section that this book will cover in 3 paragraphs, and they'll spend a chapter on it. And so it's kind of nice where it's succinct, but it still gives you a lot of that depth and in a really nice way. So yeah, I bought that too. So P3 had a sale, so I bought the rest of the P3 range that I didn't own.
Okay, so that puts you at 2 paint ranges now. You have the Monument paints, and you also have P3.
Oh, you mean like full ranges or just like a ton of?
Yeah, full or close enough to full.
Well, I scale 75. I would say I have basically the full GW range. I've got full Pro Acryl range. I've got Chimera, P3. When the Kickstarter comes for Nocturna, I'll have that full set.
Oh my god!
And then I got a bunch. I probably have 50 Vallejo paints, but they have so many that I don't count that as close to the range.
Damn, son. That is wild.
I think I need to be done doing that. Don't you?
Buying paints?
Yeah.
Yeah, you probably could have stopped after 2 ranges, maybe.
I'll go back to Vinci V. As long as I have less than him, then I don't feel bad about myself. Because that dude's got every paint.
Well, okay, so, talking about buying stuff while we're all cooped up in our houses. My life is virtually the same as it was before this all happened. I work from home with my wife, and I'm still doing that. Work continues as normal. So because my life seems pretty much unchanged, I haven't been buying a whole lot of anything. Honestly, this is the kind of environment where I thrive. I'm a homebody. I love staying at home and playing video games and playing board games. Me and Amber just started playing Seven Wonders Duel, which is an adaptation of the board game Seven Wonders, but for 2 players. And so far, she's beaten me 3 times, and I've beaten her once. So she's crushing me. But great game for 2 players. If you're looking for a game for 2 players, Seven Wonders Duel, we're really enjoying that. So I really like this, staying home, watching movies and stuff like that. So because of that, because I don't feel like my life has been disrupted in any way, I feel like that's probably why I'm not buying a whole lot of anything other than that book.
Okay, I got a question about the game.
Yeah.
So that's a competitive game. It's 1v1, right?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so do you guys do well or enjoy playing games against each other like that?
I think we're learning how to do it in the right way. There are times when Amber knows the right play to make, but she's like, I don't want to like hurt your feelings. And I'm like, listen, play to win. I'll be okay. And then she plays to win and crushes me. And then like, yeah, in the beginning it was like there's a little bit of that toxicity, or it's like, winning feels bad, or losing really hard feels bad also. But I think we're fine. We both enjoy it, so we're okay.
All right, so the moral of this story is you're much more mature than myself and my wife, because we can't play competitive games because I am cutthroat, and I am playing to win, and she is playing to have fun. And so, which will kind of lead, is a segue that we're a ways off from of what the topic of this episode is today.
Oh, right. Yeah.
But she just was like, want to have fun. We're there to relax. It's something that's it's a hobby, it's recreation, and it should be treated as such. And I just have a long history of playing games to win, and that's how I have fun. I have fun because I won. And that doesn't go well. And so we're kind of oil and water. She gets mad, and I'm mad that she's mad, and then it's like table is flipped, and it's terrible. So
yeah, that's tough. I don't know. I feel like I'm a hybrid of wanting to play to win, but also being okay with losing. I think when I was young and I was like super into competitive FPS games, and like everything I played, I like was playing to win. I think as I get a little bit older and I realize that the idea of being a pro at every single game that I play is absolutely ridiculous, that I have to be okay with losing. That has transferred over into other areas of my life, like board games. I'm able to lose and not show that I am having a miserable time.
The nice thing
I'm
is
not having a miserable time, but
yeah.
I prefer to win. Who doesn't prefer to win?
Right. Everyone wants to win.
Exactly.
So what we do is, luckily, there's enough space in the gaming realm these days that we can find cooperative games. And cooperative games work really well. It's kind of also the part of the reason why my wife doesn't want to play D&D with me DMing, because she thinks it's me against the players. And I'm actually working right now into building a D&D game for my daughter. So we just got to do a bunch of stuff for school every day. Like, I tell you what, like, this kids at home crap, dude, I don't know what the expectation is for us to keep these kids like educated and keep them on track while we're also trying to do our jobs from home. It's like, good luck. So I'm like, how can I integrate some stuff that she's got to do for school, with the reading and the math and the level of stuff that she's at, into something that's fun. And so I'm building a D&D game, and maybe I can get my wife to play with that after I get Lou excited and Lou playing, and then maybe she'll convince her mom for us, because I can never convince her.
That sounds like a really cool way to learn as a kid, having it built into an experience like that. That'll be awesome if you ever kind of figure out how to do that. That kind of sounds like more work on your plate, though.
It is. But there's something about work on your plate that excites you, and that you see the value of, in the payoff, in the combination of payoff plus fun, that makes it seem worth it.
Yeah.
And that's the kind of stuff, let's be frank, most of us in a given day, think about how many minutes or hours you spent where you're not really doing much. You're sitting on your phone, you're scrolling through stuff, you're blah, 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 Facebook, you're, just dinking around.
Yeah.
And that's hours. Like, look, we all need to relax and all that kind of stuff and de-stress. But that's the thing. If you were taking that time and pushing it to something that excites you and you will have fun with, then it's not necessarily more wasted hours.
Okay.
But yeah, so that's kind of an offshoot of what we have been buying. Of course, going back to the actual purchasing thing, there's all this stuff swirling around about the fact that Games Workshop factories aren't running, so the product that's out there in online stores is all the product there will be until that gets kicking again. And so if you want something, you should go out and order it, and you should get it now, because if you don't now, who knows when you will, and that kind of stuff. So I don't know how much of a shortage or kind of, like emergency buying or whatever is going on for folks with that. But I know that that's something that I've heard about. And I don't know if there is a shortage on product out there in stores online and eBay right now, but I don't know. Something else.
Let's talk about what we painted in these last couple of weeks. I'll go first.
Sure.
I know in last podcast episode I talked about Drazar, my Golden Demon entry, and I said I hadn't started yet on the Copper NMM, but then I showed pictures of the Copper NMM. So what I worked on was Drazar. I finished the body to 100%, and this is a weird thing, and I want to talk about this in a video at some point, kind of wax poetic about it, but like probably for the last 4 years of painting, I've painted everything, and then I'll either say in a video, I'll hedge. I'll be like, this isn't the best I can do, and I know that. Or I'll just think it in my head. And so it's really, really strange and a foreign feeling to paint something and be like, this is the best that I can do right now. And it's not a matter of skill. It's almost a matter of willingness. Like how much willpower do I have to continue to either strip this part and repaint it, which I did do on a few things, or just keep applying layers and layers and layers of paint until it gets 0.001% better, until it hits at 100%, whatever it is. It's a really interesting thought experiment. And so basically what I did was I painted the model to where I would normally stop for any given miniature. Mm-hmm. And then I went back part after part, like doing the smallest increments possible. I started on his foot and did his shin, I did his knee, I did his thigh. And each element, when I was done, I was like, okay, this is the best left foot that I've ever painted in my life. Let's move on to the shin. And so I did that until the entire body was done, and it was very labor intensive because it's the biggest part of the model is his body.
Yeah.
But his body is done, and I've now begun working on his arms. I started working on his van brace, more Copper NMM. Still thinking about what I'm going to do with the blades. But he's put aside for now, and I started working on some Slaves to Darkness for a video that came out recently, where I came up with the paint scheme for the new Chaos Warrior miniatures. And that was a quick speed paint. Each model was 25 to 30 minutes painting, so really quick and dirty. But that's it. That's what I painted.
I really dig the Slave to Darkness that you did in a way that there really is some interest and some depth to the color, especially adding the shades to that armor. It does so much in a way that didn't cost you a ton of hours to produce.
It's the power of the airbrush, man. That took me to do purple and green ink. I don't know, it's like a minute and a half per color, and you could be even faster if you were like trained with it. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I really like that approach, where it's like, I want to come up with an army. I'm going to practice my scheme over 3 miniatures and time it, and then like see where I can save time and tweak things. And you're kind of experimenting in this space where it's like, okay, this is not the final thing. I'm experimenting here. I'm figuring it out. I really like that, and I've never done it before until these 2 videos where I did it. I've never done it in real life, but I think moving forward, I'm definitely going to do that for future armies if I have the opportunity to, with my vampires and stuff.
I thought when I first saw the video and the premise of it before I had watched it, I kind of had thought that your plan was to do that test for color scheme with the point of using that color scheme for your vampire army. I thought that's what you were going to do, and I was like, oh, that's a smart idea. He gets to test out his vampire army scheme.
Yeah. That crossed my mind. I was like, I should actually get value out of this and practice what I want to paint the vampires to be. Yeah, I probably should have done that. I was like, okay, but then I kind of put more pressure into thinking of a scheme that I'm really going to like for my vampires, and I was like, screw it, I'm just going to go with this thing that I've been thinking about for a while, which was the silver and purple and green.
Yeah, that you're not so like attached to it long term, right? And so you can just act. You don't have to overthink and commit.
That's very true.
Commit. I mean, at a certain point, you're going to have to commit, but that day isn't yet today. So,
yeah. So how about you? What'd you paint?
I wanted to go before I talk about me. I wanted to mention something about your Drazar too. Like,
Yeah.
how does that? See, when I've painted stuff for competition, it's typically in a different kind of boat than your situation with Drazar. I don't ever get to the point where I feel like this is the best I could paint because I'm like, this is as good as I can do it based on the timeline coming up soon, right?
Yeah.
And so you didn't put that on yourself, that you actually just like put the flag in the ground and be like, this is as good as I can paint. And that's pretty heavy to think about.
It is heavy.
Did that make you, what did that, when you kind of finished a section, you're like, this is it. Did it make you like frustrated? Did it make you feel like relieved? Did it make you feel like you could like, okay, now I'm excited to push. What do I need to do that would make it better if I got better? I'm curious, like, what was your takeaway after that?
I think a few things are going on here. I get a source of pride from it because I believe that the model looks good, the body looks good. I'm really happy with the copper enamel. I'm happy with the white. I feel like the red isn't as good as other people that I see, like Gareth Nicholas. He's kind of like the god of painting reds. Maybe it's not great to compare to him. So yeah, a little bit of pride that like, hey, I put my all into this and it looks good. But also it's level setting or ego setting, whatever it is, because it's like, while this is the best that I can do, and I am proud of it, there are other people out there that can paint better than me, probably with less effort, that I have said to myself, either out loud or just with my id, said things like, oh, I can paint that good if I had the time.
Yeah.
And the reality is that I can't. I can't paint that good, so I have some things to learn. So it was a little bit of ego death in that regard too. Just kind of being honest with myself and being like, you are not at the level of X person yet, given infinite time. But yeah.
Yeah, that's tough. And then what you say, okay, if I'm gonna be there or take the next step to be there, what do I do to do that?
Yeah, that's another interesting question. I had a period of my hobby life where I was like really all about learning and educating myself. It was in like 2016. I was like surfing blogs like crazy and doing other things like that. And I had a period like where I leveled up and there was a growing pains where it's like, oh man, this sucks to paint. I'm terrible at all this stuff. And I've kind of hit that next point. Maybe I'm plateauing a little bit where I'm not educating myself at all. I'm not trying to go super crazy with learning new stuff and new styles. And I'm kind of settling into a rhythm here. Maybe what I need is another growing pain situation.
I think this is easier to say and harder to actually like just follow through on, but I think if you could do a Drazar every other week, not that specific model, but I mean the process that you did, right? Where you just like, you tried as hard as you could. And even if it wasn't on the whole model, he's just like, I'm just going to try to make this sword the best sword that I can paint. And the rest of the model, like, I want to finish it or whatever. If you could do that every week or every other week, I think you'd get there. I mean, I know you'd get there. Actually, it's a matter of how long before you'd like hit that next level up. We don't know how much XP that is. It's a hidden number. Yeah, it's a hidden number for all of us. But I think it'd do it. The issue is if you recognize that, what steps you need to proactively take to accomplish that, and are you willing to do that? Are you capable? Are you able to, based on your life, your time, or whatever? Maybe for Scott right now, because Scott is so busy with so many things, and the way the world is right now doesn't affect his work stream. Maybe not, but maybe some of our sprues and spruettes, if you're at a different point where it's like, I'm cut back on hours, or I'm work from home, or I don't have work right now. Maybe you could do those levels up now, and you'd get to, the next point to where once life is back to a little bit more normal again, you will have feeling like, oh, I took advantage of this time to level up my painting because I recognized what I needed to do it, and I was trying it every week or every day or whatever I wanted to set myself to. So paint a Drazar every day. like Scott.
Every day. Yeah, if you got that time, I like that challenge a lot. Just grab a miniature and paint a portion of it, or the whole thing, doesn't matter what. But paint a portion, paint a mini, and be like, this is the best X that I can do right now.
Mm-hmm.
And just keep painting it, and keep painting it, and keep painting until you just can't, until you're just done, until either you're artistically exhausted or until you're like, I don't know what else to do, and say, this is the best thing I can paint at this point in my life.
Yeah.
Just keep doing that. That's a fun, I don't know if I call it a fun challenge. It's a rewarding challenge and a difficult one for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I think so too. I think times like these, this relates back to our talks of earlier on in our podcast life about paint on mini every day. And that's something we haven't talked about in recent podcast episodes. And so I should probably also say other catchphrases we haven't used lately, like meat and potatoes.
Cash in?
Yeah,
meat and potatoes.
Get those meat.
Man, that kind of expired, eh?
Meat and potatoes. Yeah, it did. Well, those things, they're perishable. If you don't eat your meat and potatoes, they're gonna get moldy in your fridge. So you gotta make sure we gotta say it every episode, otherwise they get moldy. Finger paint your monkey.
Paint your monkey. Gotta have a list here. Just gotta run through it.
So yeah, if you can work on that paint on mini every day, I would say that's more important than this kind of like hyper challenge we're giving you guys. Giving me a challenge. Paint on mini every day. Okay, in this time, if you're able to, if you're working in the public and you're super stressed out and you're super tired at the end of the day, you're working 10, 12, 14, 16 hours. I work in healthcare. I know a lot of folks at work that, I mean, there's no way they have the energy to do this at the end of the day, and I don't expect them to. But if you have the capacity to paint, paint on mini every day, number one. Challenge the second would be, I'm going to paint. This week is my goal is I'm going to paint the best sword I can possibly paint. I'm going to give myself a week to do it and see how great I can make it. And then next week, I'm going to put this entire mini down because I'm so sick of looking at it. Let's be frank. We get to that point. We get sick of looking at that model. Find something else. I'm just going to paint the leather pants on this model as best I can do. And that's challenge the second. So decide which challenge you want to take between now and our next episode 2 weeks from now. And we will check your work.
We will grade you.
We will grade you. We'll get out the red pens.
We'll chastise you.
Yeah, you can submit it for critique. If you're a member of the Patreon, you can submit it there, and then we can bring it up and tear it down in our critique section in the after party. All right. Oh, all that, and I didn't get to what I painted. Okay.
Yeah. No, we've been taking our time.
Yeah. Slow ride. Take it easy.
Take it easy.
Earlier today, my 7-year-old daughter said, "Dad, do you even know who Billie Eilish is?"
Whoa.
And I was like, "Ouch." Rip.
Wait, hold on. Your 7-year-old knows who Billie Eilish is?
Yeah, she's kind of a music fanatic. She knows and can memorize songs and sing them kind of like a mockingbird. But she's when you're a kid, like you don't think of the words. Like you don't.
Just Bad Guy.
Yeah, she sings Bad Guy, and she doesn't know exactly what all the
questionable
words
lyrics.
Are. Right. Yeah, very questionable. But she knows who she is, and so I told her I'm the bad guy, and she thought it was pretty funny. So.
Oh, okay, nice.
So what I've been painting, I painted more D&D characters, so I'm gonna show them up on the screen.
I like that.
This is one I think I've shown before. It's my Kingdom Death model. And
the Butcher?
Oh no, he's over here. Here's the Butcher. But I painted more D&D models because it was kind of like I was after the depression of Adepticon had waned a little bit. I got a new depression, and that was we can't play Dungeons and Dragons. And so we as a group decided, even though technically we could, and technically all of us are quarantined and working from home and don't have any connections to other folks, and we're in that, we're 98% sure we're all good. But we still wanted to be responsible people. And you have to make the decisions, even if they're not the fun decision, that you'd want others to make, even if you think it's fine for you. So we decided we're not going to play D&D. We're looking at going through Fantasy Grounds for online, and so we're going to probably start that next Friday. It's not going to be the same, but whatever. So to deal with my depression of D&D, I'm like, I'm going to paint more of our characters. And so when we get back to play together, we'll have all painted characters. And so I painted my buddy's, his Artificer from a Guild Ball mini. More Guild Ball minis I paint, the more I really like them. Other than all the damn belts and shit. They have so many belts and buckles.
Dude, also in regards to D&D models that could be sick, we both discovered that brand that Roman Lapat used for the Night Watch.
Yeah.
What's that brand called? Red something?
I have it still saved up here with like stuff in my cart on their website. So let me see.
That brand is sick.
Redbox Games.
Redbox Games. You described it perfectly when you're like, this is like a higher quality CMON game, Zombicide-esque style miniature. The details are crisper.
Yep.
I'm trying to find something to buy because they got some good stuff that I would enjoy painting quite a bit.
Yeah, we should put together an order.
All right. Wait, is it not US? It's somewhere else? Is it in Europe?
Yeah, it is. I'm almost positive.
Okay, yeah. We'll put together an order. We'll get something.
We'll do it. We'll put together an order here. We'll put together an order from the source. Have it delivered at your house. I scoop them. I scoop them up in the middle of the night while you're sleeping from your doorstep.
But you're buying too much stuff. I shouldn't condone this.
I also started painting my terrain piece for my Osiark Bone Reapers. So all airbrush.
Okay, huge.
Yeah, and that's. And there, you think that's big, then there's this thing. That's the base thing that goes on.
Jeez.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, the sicker. You throw it in the middle of the table at the beginning of the game, and you're like, I'm ready to rock. So I just used some desaturated greenish grays to just do the stone all in airbrush first. And then I'm gonna brush paint the bones quickly, and I use some kind of wash. Oh, shit. I just dropped it. Onto the other models that I brought over here, so everything got knocked over, and hopefully no chips. Anyway, so yeah, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna enamel wash it, get some grunge, some grime. I'm gonna steal something from your Slaves to Darkness video, and I'm going to run through the airbrush some Citadel shades of funky colors, just like weird distortion of filters of these weird colors, like a crimson or a camel green or a yellow, and weird spots all around the stone, so it has some more interest and more depth to it. But I don't have to take a ton of time to create that. So,
right? Do you know what the artsy fartsy term for that is?
No, I don't.
Nuance.
God,
everyone always uses that word. I love the nuance of this piece.
We have a nuanced society, Scott.
All right, cool.
That's what I've been painting.
Terrain piece was as big as a freaking microphone. It was just like you were holding it, and it was like a cucumber.
It's like
giant.
Yeah, this thing is like 8 inches tall, and then the actual board part of it is like 9 by 9 inches.
Dang.
Squared. It's stupid.
Okay. All right. The discussion for today, we're talking about improvement and also having fun with your hobby, and if the two are mutually exclusive or not. Can you have fun while also improving, or can you not? And oftentimes with questions like this that kind of pose an absolute, the answer is probably somewhere in the between, and it probably depends on what kind of person you are. Yeah. But let's dive into it, John. You got some thoughts? Yeah,
I'm going to start with a point or a direction from this that I think is going to be somewhat controversial. So I'm going to start on the far side. I'm not going to say far left or far right because I don't want you to get any kind of something in your head that phrase will cause you to trigger or whatever. But right, I'm going to start on one far side, and then I think we can decide how much we pull back from that or don't.
Okay.
I am going to say that for most of us, most personality types, the actual act of painting in the moment when we are trying to improve is much less fun than if we are simply painting for relaxing fun. If I'm trying to sit down and throw some paint on and not stress too hard and relax for the day, that's more fun. If I'm trying to improve, it shouldn't be in the moment fun, because I should be actively trying to improve. I should be really focused. I should be locked in. I should have my shoulders tense. I should be really involved. And if my brain is focusing on that, my brain is not experiencing a traditional fun. Now, the fun will happen. The fun will happen after that 2-hour painting session when I put it down and I finished the calf muscle and it looks great. Then I get that wave of euphoria, of relief, of pride, of whatever. Now, that may not happen after every 2-hour session, because I could have been spending a whole bunch of time getting stuff to the butthole phase of the painting project, and I didn't have any fun. But if I keep at it, I'll get there. If you're actively trying to get better and improve your painting, if you're trying to level up, like we talked about earlier, the in-the-moment painting will not be something that you can sit and just like absorb and have the fun, because you are too focused to worry about fun right there. That is my point.
Okay. I think you and I are similar, and I think there are people in the world that aren't similar to us, and I'm going to make the distinction, I think, right now. When you're playing Dota multiplayer, and you are bad at it, because we're both bad at it.
Yes, we are
you not having a good time?
I'm having moments of good time followed by a wave of stress.
Okay, maybe a better question. The average enjoyment level, when you compare it to the average enjoyment level of a painting session where you're trying to improve, which one's higher?
I'd say probably Dota.
Okay, the point I'm trying to make here is that...
Yeah, you lost me. Please help.
Personally, a lot of the painting process isn't enjoyable for me.
Mm-hmm.
The beginning, the middle, the best part is the end, when it looks good, hopefully. Whereas when I play video games, and I'm always trying to get better at video games, constantly, I'm always like, every time I play a MOBA game, whatever one I want to play, after every single match, I'm constantly thinking about what went wrong, how could I fix what I did. I used to watch replays of my own games to see where I wasn't being efficient with my time. And very little of that time spent was not enjoyed.
Yeah.
It's when I'm losing, I'm getting crushed. I don't enjoy that. And my team is like, dropping the ball, or I'm dropping the ball. That's not fun. But what I'm trying to say is that I think my answer to this question is skewed by the fact that a lot of the painting process is not enjoyable in the first place. And that's a personal problem that I think I need to probably fix. So I would agree with you in saying that if someone's trying to get better and they're causing their mental disruption in their typical day-to-day process, it's going to, by definition, not be enjoyable. But for someone who views painting miniatures like I view playing video games, maybe that answer is different.
Yeah, and I'm not saying that when you look back at it in retrospect that you don't look fondly upon the whole painting experience of this particular model. Like when you look back at your time with Trezor, you're going to say, yeah, there was a lot of just like, oh my gosh, it was a lot of work and it was a lot of stress and it was figuring stuff out and feeling that I'm not as good as I want to be. But overall, I think your brain and the emotional connection you'll have to the piece is its final outcome. And that's what I think what drives or keeps people that, and I agree with you, it's not everybody. It keeps people with the mindset that you and I have to go back to the next model.
Yeah.
Because if 80% of our painting experience is not what you'd categorize as fun, why would you go do it again?
I don't know.
All right? Why would you do it again? It's because
it's my job.
I think it's that satisfaction is all kind of like built up, and we don't get to experience it, we don't get to have it, we don't get to have our dessert until the very end, and then it's like 17 Dairy Queen cakes, and you get them all at once. You get them all at once. And so
I know there's some truth to that.
And then you're just like, yes. And then every time you look at that model, every time that you scroll through your Instagram feed or you post it for whatever, or you play it in the game, you don't get to see all the stuff up to that. All you get to see is that final product. And that is enough for most of us, especially us that are going to continue to paint or have been painting for years. It's what keeps us in it. It's enough of a motivator and a desire to want to do more. And I'm not saying you shouldn't find places of fun and find places of and acknowledge those places of enjoying it. Here's a good example. I'm spending a ton of time on painting a big model, and I know it's going to take me 100 hours or more. When I can get a nice wet blend in the moment and it's smooth as heck, and I know I'm not going to have to do another layer of that wet blend again, that is enjoyable. I take the 5 seconds and I look at that and I'm like, look what I did.
Yeah. Also similar to that, when a paint scheme starts to come together, that can feel really good as well.
Yeah, I'm with you. Yeah, it's like, oh my gosh, that kind of desaturated pink, who would have thought that? It works so good. I'm just loving how the whole model is coming together when the extra colors are put on the model.
Absolutely. I definitely, I can look back into my painting backlog and times when I painted certain things where you kind of get to that 80% completion and it starts to like really come together and look really nice because all of your color ideas came together and they look really nice. And once you start painting more details in the model, all the other micro problems start to fade away and then the mini looks cool. So yeah, I can understand that feeling.
That feeling of like, it was like 1 or 2 hours ago, I felt like I am a terrible painter and this all looks like garbage and I don't know why I'm doing what I'm doing, and you just kept at it, and suddenly something happens, and 2 hours later and you look at that same video and you're like, whoa, okay, all right, this is actually this isn't garbage. All right, I'm gonna keep going.
You know what I want to do? I want to make a poll, and I'm gonna give it to the viewers here. And it's going to be a question about how much of the painting process you enjoy. And it's going to be 0%, 10, 20, 30, 40, all up to 100%. And I'm curious where the majority is going to lie. If people are going to assess that they enjoy 50% of the process, 20%, 80%, like whatever it is. So in the show notes for this video, if you're listening, or if you're on YouTube, in the description, there's going to be a link to a poll that I want you to answer the question: how much percent of a paint job do you enjoy the process of painting? What
could we use that data for? I don't think we need to necessarily have the answer right now, but I think we could come up with something that, what do we do with that? I think there's some value and some use for that data, and even if it's just like that's stage one of us getting into something deeper here, I think it's going to have value. So yeah, awesome.
I think what the outcome of the question may show is that people don't enjoy the majority of the process, and then what may lead from that is that maybe we need this is going to sound ridiculous. Maybe we need exercises to run to increase our enjoyment of something that we should already enjoy in the first place.
Right.
That sounds totally ass backwards, because like, if I have to do exercises, I'm not going to enjoy that. But just maybe the exercises are just how to get in the right frame of mind so that you enjoy what you're doing. Just, all of it or the majority of it. I don't know. That'd be interesting to think about what that would even look like.
I think that's a good direction to consider it from, to consider this information from, though. Like what? Okay, I mean, I think from there we'd have to delve into not only what percentage, but can we be more specific as to what areas of of that, let's say 70% you don't enjoy. What are those areas? Can we get more detailed information, and then maybe we can dissect. We're finding that 90% of people, they hate the base coat stage. Right, whatever it is. Anyway,
Yeah.
And how do we address that? Is there a way to address that makes us paint more? Makes us enjoy painting more? Is it actually, is there a different techniques or philosophy to that stage? Because something I've been finding lately, and I haven't been doing this for like hardcore painting right now, but the D&D minis that I just showed you, other than the Butcher, were all painted in the base level stages with primary and secondary colors all on my palette. I don't have a paint scheme. I don't have an idea in mind. But on my palette is every possible color I could need through mixing. And I'm just throwing stuff on it. And I'm just not focusing on how good it's going to look or how it's all going to come together in the end or what colors are going to go where. But I have access in these paints on my palette. And you could use whatever paints you want. Just throw a bunch of paints on there, and you take the pressure and the frustration of color choice and all that stuff out of your brain, and you just worry about just getting basic colors on there and building up natural highlights and shadows in those tones from the get-go without focusing on making everything super detailed and super crisp and super precise at the beginning. Because more of these like pro painters and amazing painters that I watch and see their kind of works in progress steps, they're not pretty, they're not clean, they're not smooth at the beginning. Mm-hmm. So why should I focus on that? Why shouldn't I focus on building like a dynamic piece from square one instead of a clean piece from square one? So that's something that I've been starting to try, that I think to kind of recognize that I don't enjoy those steps and go with it. I had more fun with that. I haven't done it to a piece I'm going to like really, really try my all in, because then it's like, I don't know when to transition. When I transition to like fun, free flowing kind of Banshee style, I kind of think it comes from a Banshee or even a Roman Lapat style of freedom from the get go. I don't know how to transition from that to like, I need to make it look like I need to win the award, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's a great question. I've always thought that like the ultimate, like an area where I would like to be better, or like if possible I could accomplish this. This is like where if I can slap on quick and dirty highlights on a miniature, whether it's like a giant bust or something smaller, and have the model totally read as what it's supposed to look like in the end without blending at all, to me that's the ultimate sign of you totally understand. Not totally, but you have a really good understanding of volumetric highlighting and shading based on, you know, the shape of the thing, what material it is, where your light source is. If I could do that, like you're saying, in that fun stage, get those quick and dirty highlights down and have the thing read as, read as what it's supposed to be, that'd be amazing. I'm not entirely there. When I ever try to do that, it always kind of ends up messy, and I always need to do a lot of that refining. But that could probably increase the joy if I just spent longer in that stage of, let's just put down some rough highlights across the entire miniature instead of just doing it to his one boot or his shoulder or whatever it is.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that comes back to when you see these painters that paint that way or start that way, on their palette they have access to every base color or surface style or whatever at their fingertips. Because sometimes that's how we work, is we're like, well, I'm just going to bring out my browns and my yellows and maybe some ivories and some blacks so I can do all the leather and all shades of it. Well, then if it's too much to work in one section. But if you want to work on everything, it's like, okay, my general highlight color, all the base colors that I'm going to need, and what other colors I'll be mixing into them. This is why I want to start working more with the Chimera paints. I decided there's something I want to talk about and something new I've tried in the after party today that makes me excited to try Chimera paints again. And so I think like just having access to the basic colors and just doing everything at once. Because I think having all those volumetric highlights and seeing the total contrast of highlights and shadows and base tones all at once in that initial stage will tell you how close you are and tell you what you need to tweak before you start moving on.
Yeah. You know, the area that I struggle with the most when it comes to just throwing on thick and opaque highlights and shadows is getting the size of the highlight correct.
Yeah.
And man, yeah, like if someone was like, paint this shoulder pad to end up like from a Space Marine, paint it to end up looking turquoise, without blending, without nursing the shoulder pad for an hour. You have 2 minutes. I want to see the correct amount of contrast, and I also want to see where all the highlights and shadows should go. Make it read as teal. I would fail, but holy cow, that sounds like a really interesting thing that you could do 10 times in a row with 10 different shoulder pads.
Yeah.
You got 4 colors, get the right contrast, get the right highlight on a shoulder pad, 2 minutes, go. And it's just like, yeah, that'd be really interesting to try that out. I kind of want to.
I know.
But yeah, I would suck at that a lot. How about you? What do you think?
Yeah. I mean, it's like, okay, you need it to read as color X, but it still needs to have depth and shadow and highlight, but still read as color X. That's the hard part sometimes. Yeah. It's like, it's teal, but like, I mean, my eye needs to immediately see it and see teal, but yet still build up lighter than that and still be darker with other shades that aren't teal. And so a lot of times you just kind of like, we go with what our brain thinks it would look like without reference. And then when you complete it and you're like, if you were to show it to someone that doesn't know miniature painting, they would tell you a color that's not teal.
Yep, I know that feeling. Yeah, I kind of want to say that's the most important skill you can have as a miniature painter. Maybe even a painter in general, being able to realize the volumes of something and to be able to accurately interpret it quickly. That might even make painting more enjoyable for you, because that would just mean you have to nurse the model less if you just get it right in the first place.
Mm-hmm. I think so.
There's an experiment for you. If you train that skill, you'll enjoy painting more. I have no idea.
Well, and I think that skill is so universally translatable. If you can do that, then no matter what you're painting, suddenly it's not the issue anymore, because you have an understanding that applies to everything that you put a brush to.
Yeah. You know what? In the course of chatting in this podcast, and this is not the first time this has happened, I am constantly coming up with video ideas. I know. I need to write these things down. That's great. I want to do that totally.
I can tell. You need to have give your editor of the podcast a notebook and say, "I will give you a nickel for every idea for a video."
A nickel
that you pull out of this.
Yikes.
And 7 John bucks. She can have some John
currency
bucks.
Of the podcast.
Yeah, she can have some John bucks.
Okay, well, I think we need to get back to the conversation here, because I think we kind of fell away, which is okay. But having fun and improving, are they mutually exclusive? It depends on the kind of person you are. If you enjoy painting like I enjoy playing video games, I think they are not mutually exclusive. I think if you enjoy getting down into the crunchy details of what makes something tick and why something operates the way it does, and you have a fun time exploring that, and trying to figure out for yourself why it is or isn't working, I think you can definitely get better at painting and also enjoy it. But that's a very specific kind of person, and I don't think the majority of people are like that.
Yeah, it needs this very like scientific, analytical mindset that coupled with a ton of patience. Yeah. Coupled with an artistic desire, because that's the method we're using here. And suddenly that person, I'm like, does that person exist?
Yeah, right. I need all these things in my bubbling cauldron.
Yeah, and they probably do exist, and they probably will get the comments below of those folks. And that's awesome. Right. That's awesome. You are a unicorn. You need to be sent to a preserve and a
preserve for mini painters.
Right. Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, we sent to a preserve where Carol Baskins can look over you and make sure that nobody takes you or your cubs.
All right. Okay. So what else is there to discuss about this?
All right, I came at it my first kind of statement from a get better perspective. So I want to kind of take it from the other perspective, a have fun perspective. What if your goal or what you just want to do when you sit down to paint is to relax, very soothing experience of painting a miniature? Can you get better with that mode, that mindset, that approach? Can you get better? You can get better. I mean, without a doubt, you can get better because you're spending more time with the technical, mechanical skills of putting paint to mini. So there's a lot of this in terms of you increasing your manual dexterity, your hand-eye coordination, steadiness, all that stuff. If all you did was paint base coats and of each separate surface of models, that's all you did every day for a year. You never highlighted, you never shadowed, whatever. If you were to look at your first mini in that year and your last mini in that year, at how much more crisp and detailed and the surfaces having a nice fight, a nice dividing line would be, the improvement would be vast because you're simply going through the motions. So if you want to paint to have fun and you just don't want to get all worried about getting better, you just want to paint to have fun, and that makes you paint more, you're going to get better because you're painting more than somebody that's, is like, I'm only going to paint one model every 6 months and it's going to be the best model ever. That person's not going to get as good as quickly because you're painting more models. Now, you will get to a point where you're going to have to add new tools to your toolbox, where you're going to have to add new techniques and try adventurous things to get to that next level. At that point, my question to you is it still relaxing, soothing, laid back fun? Or is it, I need to actively focus on how this technique works and how is this working in real time and adjusting and referencing and all this? Suddenly, is that the same mode? I would argue that it's not. That it's not the same thing at that point. And maybe you just jump in there for 10 minutes and then you jump back out to your comfort zone. You jump in, you jump out. But it's those moments within where you're stressing or you're putting more on yourself to improve that aren't the laid back, fun, just de-stress moments in the painting. What do you think of that? Am I wrong? I don't think there's a wrong or right, but do you?
Yeah, no, what you're saying definitely makes sense. And what you're saying made me think of something. When I was little and I painted, I didn't give a crap about getting better. I just painted. I didn't care if I was messing up a base coat. I didn't care if the model looked bad in the end. In the end, I had a painted model, and I was happy about that.
Yeah.
But as adults, we get more self-critical, right?
Mm-hmm.
So during the process, you're putting on a base coat, and you're like, "Oh, what's going on? Why is there texture in this spot? I didn't notice that." And in the moment, you're being self-critical and analyzing your mistakes. And what I'm curious about is, people always say they paint and it's relaxing. Can you be a beginner and paint and it be relaxing and be making mistakes as an adult and just still be enjoying your time?
Mm.
You know what I mean?
It's not the mistakes that you just aren't aware of. It's the mistakes you can see but are just okay with.
Yeah, it's like, I feel like you need to be incredibly emotionally mature to be able to just, or maybe just more mature than I am, which is not hard. To be able to just sit there, sling paint as a newbie, and paint like I did when I was 10 years old, and be like, I don't care, dude. I'm chilling, I'm relaxing. I find that so hard to believe from my perspective, because like whenever I'm painting, I'm just in my own head all the time.
Yeah.
Like this one thing I did, how can I make that better the next time? Like why did that happen? Okay, what lesson did I learn from this tiny little mistake that I just made that no one else is ever going to hear about because it's only in my head right now?
Yep.
I'm just so in my own shit. I can't imagine a person who could know they're making mistakes and not have some kind of mental discomfort about that.
Yeah, it's never a Bob Ross joy of painting moment in my head when I'm painting like that crap never goes on. There's no like there's no happy little clouds. It's just like this stupid white cloth crap. Why do you suck so much? Why do I suck so much? Like that's just maybe us. But you know what? Here's the thing. I think you're onto something, and there's a deeper lesson in that. In that, when we're kids, we live in the same world as the adults in the time, but we're so much more sheltered and have bigger blinders on to all the depth of worries and detail and possibilities and fears that adults have. We just deal with that so much. We have so much more absorption to everything that is a stress and that the world gives to us, so much more than a child. Unless, unfortunately, a child is put into that kind of position at a young age, which can be incredibly scarring because they're not emotionally ready for it yet. But that 9-year-old Scott just doesn't have all the other things that adult Scott has to deal with. And when adult Scott has to go through day-to-day life with those certain things always hovering, always in the back of your mind, always worried about, always stressing about, always thinking about 100 things at once. Adult Scott cannot remove that from his brain when he sits down to paint. That becomes a part of your psyche. And so it is now wormed its way into how you paint because that's how your brain operates on a daily basis. Now, there are probably people that would say, you two need to do some meditation, Holmes. Like you need to just find a way that you can find your Zen place and to be able to like remove yourself from your body and have this mental state. And you can experience this bliss while you're painting. And I mean, like, I agree with you. I don't know Gandhi. So,
dude, let me tell you. If I ever found that one time, it'd be like a drug to me.
Yeah.
And I'd be like, how the hell do I get that again?
Yeah.
And I would search for it. Yeah. Just to get into a flow state of painting where you're just, time melts away and you're just like, I don't know. Like your painting is an expression of your being. I don't know. I'm saying it right now.
Like reality. You're no longer in this plane of existence. And all things associated with physical Scott are no longer. And it's just this invisible hand that you are guiding through a brush to this thing. I feel like the closest thing that I know of this is like Roman the Pot. Does he kind of paint like? I mean, we're obviously talking about like next level, like high on shrooms version of this, but like, but I feel like that like he has this kind of an approach that is not about all the other details, not about society, not about doing it for others, not about focusing on all these other things. I don't know. You talk to him on the internet. Why don't you tell me, Scott?
I would say a characteristic of professionals in all of their fields that they're able to engage in. The term is a flow state. It is like they intentionally lock themselves away. I've read a book about this. They lock themselves away. They turn off distractions, and what they are doing becomes meditation. So it's not specifically mindfulness or anything like that, but the act, whatever it is, whether it's long distance running or painting miniatures in this case, becomes their form of meditation. And it's something that you have to practice to be able to do. But that's a very common characteristic for professionals that are at the top of their field.
I feel like there's probably books on this, and those are the next purchases for our quarantine purchase club.
I've read some. Do you want one?
Yeah.
About flow state?
Yeah, I do. I want to be able to hack the matrix, and I see everything in green ones and zeros. That's what I want to do.
Yeah, I worked at Cray software engineering place, and I had a friend who was always reading books about this stuff because he was always in his own head trying to figure out how to, like, just like you said, like hack your own brain. So he gave me a few recommendations, and I read one of them. And yeah, it's good. It's enlightening.
I mean, that's one side, of this thunder and lightning. That's the thunder. And then the lightning is, I think, this kind of higher level of meditation. I think that's got to be something here. If there's any sprues and spruettes that have some like experience or knowledge or professional understanding of this stuff, please do share that and let us know, or reach out to me and say, like, you need to read this book or watch this. Yeah. Or have somebody else read it to me if I'm Scott, because I don't really read books.
Excuse me?
Nothing. I coughed there. It kind of got stuck in my throat.
Excuse me? Are you assuming that I don't read books?
I
know at least 30 words.
Yeah, true. You're right. You do know that many. So I take it back. I take it all back. Take it all back, baby.
John has a hatred for audiobooks.
I don't have a hatred of audiobooks. I have
unfounded.
I have hatred of people that listen to audiobooks.
I mean, isn't that kind of the same thing?
I'm joking. I see. Like, if you're like over the road trucker, like, yeah, absolutely. You should, like, that's awesome. That's totally an amazing thing. But it's like, you're a fully functioning adult.
Wait, are you saying that truckers aren't fully functioning adults?
No, I'm not. But wait no, they don't have. They're spending so much time where they can learn and engage and take in, information or entertainment. And an audiobook is a great example for that. But if you have, I'm talking about people that like actively like sit on their ass and choose to listen to somebody read instead of reading themselves. And
no, I'm just giving you a hard time. I understand what you're saying.
And there are like people that do running and people that you're on bike rides, or you drive a lot and you do that for work if you have to commute and get rush hour and stuff like that. Absolutely. Like, audiobooks are a great thing. Podcasts as well. Obviously, we're on a podcast. You should listen to podcasts instead of reading instead of audiobooks.
Trapped Under Plastic, the hobby podcast for the miniature hobby enthusiast.
I just think it's not as much that I'm against audiobooks as that I'm just so scared of our society not being well read and not understanding the value of reading on a daily basis. I mean, reading is so stinking important, and you just saying like reading emails or reading forums or whatever is the same thing, and it's kind of not. So I just encourage folks to read. It's better for all of us as a peoples, so our society doesn't crumble. We all start throwing poop at each other and finger painting everybody else's monkeys. So don't do that.
I'm currently reading a book called Rulers of the Dead, which is 2 books put together. The second one being about Neferata and Warhammer lore. I almost finished that one. And then next up, I actually have the books next to me that I'm reading. One is Genevieve Undead, which is another Warhammer vampire lore book. And then another one.
That one's got such a cool cover.
Dude, yeah, the whole horror series have like all red paint and red paper. But yeah, it's supposed to be a horror book. I'm excited to read that. And then I also bought the Von Karstein Wars trilogy. Sorry, Vampire Wars. All about Von Karstein. And I finished the first book, and there's three more, I think. I can't remember, but it's all about the family of the Von Karsteins in Sylvania and the Empire and the old world of Warhammer. So those are on deck.
You are a reader. I take it all back. You are, and I give you a hard time, but you do read quite a bit. So,
dude, compared to my wife, I'm a goddamn child. she's putting back 1-2 books a week. She's in a book club too. She's crazy.
Wow. That is good. See, she's gonna reach the next higher level of enlightenment, and she'll be the one that's like, as the apocalypse and the world is crumbling and everything falls into fissure, she will be like this hovering being that will like pick you up and take you to the cloud city.
She's just floating on like a cloud made of her own like psyche and like cell and like in conscious.
Yeah.
She's just She has a third eye on her forehead.
So you'll be glad you married that one in the future.
Yeah, when that day comes.
When it comes.
Yeah.
Before we kind of transition over to the next area, I think it's important to understand that there's not always finite definitions of terms, and we all know that the word fun, but our definition personally and how we interpret fun can be different. And is fun different than satisfaction? And is satisfaction more of what we're talking about sometimes here, or what do you view as fun? And so I understand this topic there's a lot more depth and more psychology involved in this and how we each as individuals function. But we're kind of casting wide swaths of paint, again, bringing back an old school term from the podcast, in our description of this. And I know that, I mean, some of what we say, I'll say myself specifically, I push to an area that is a far side of the argument. And that doesn't mean that I'm like, I'm so obsessed with that I'm right and you think differently, you're wrong. That's not the case here. I just think it's good to look at it from far ends, and then understanding the borders will help us understand where we feel we fit or where we think we might lie somewhere in the middle. So anything else to talk about in this one, Scotty?
No, but I also agree with that approach to having an argument. You're trying on a different suit. You're like going over here. Okay, I'm gonna have this opinion and see how I can defend it. Okay, I'm gonna go over here, have this opinion and see how I can defend it, and see what feels better and feels more right for me.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a good way to kind of dissect a hard to argue about topic like this is, and one that is so personal.
Yep.
But no, I think we're good. I think we can move on to some newsy news.
Oh,
of which there is some. I'll kick us off here.
Okay.
Do you know a little short sci-fi series on YouTube called Astartes, John?
I have heard of it. I have not watched it, but I've heard of it.
Brother, do yourself a fucking favor. I fucking hate Space Marines. I don't know why I'm swearing all of a sudden. I hate Space Marines, and this short is amazing.
Is this the one where like 3 minutes per episode, or is it longer?
Something
than
like that.
Okay.
It's like between 2 and 5 minutes, possibly, maybe 7.
Wow. Okay.
But let me tell you. Okay, a lot of stuff goes into making a good narrative piece. Okay, and then this has another layer of complexity because it's all CGI. It is all computer generated imagery. None of it's real. So not only is all the normal narrative difficulty there, whereas what to show, what the dialogue should be or what it shouldn't be, how to do the editing, how to do the cuts, but also making it not look like ass.
Yeah.
And if there's anything I can say about this short, it's that the CGI is amazing. It's fantastic, and it's a single freaking dude. It's super good, but not only is it super good, it really gives you. It shows Space Marines in the light that every Space Marine fanboy tries to convey to people like me who hate them what Space Marines are. It makes them look so fucking badass, and it has a mood. It's great. It's a great piece of film. If you haven't seen Astartes Part 1 through 5, you are in luck. It is a great short film. You should watch them all 5 right now on your lunch break or whatever time. Stop watching this podcast. Well, actually, don't do that.
After the podcast. After the podcast.
Right. It's a great short film. Part 5 just came out. It's the end to the short. He wants to make more stuff. Whoever this person is, it's amazing.
Oh, this is it? This is like the ending?
This is the ending to this short film. But there are other stories that he wants to tell in the Warhammer universe.
This is like super popular, this series, isn't it? It's like I mean I hear about it.
Views.
Hear about it all over the place and everything. Like I wonder why GW hasn't gotten their shit together and like locked this dude down.
I have no idea. But yeah, the newest one's out. It's got 3.6 million views. The other ones have similar view counts. It's nuts. It deserves it. The amount of work in this series, definitely. That's my first bit of news.
My bit of news is that good friends over at Broken Toad Miniatures have set an official date for the launch of their newest Kickstarter, which would be April 24th, which is the Labyrinth and Dark Crystal miniatures. And oh man, if you know the quality of Broken Toad minis, then these things look so good. And especially if you're a fan of Jim Henson, you're a fan of these characters, you're a fan of these films, which if you're not, what the hell have you done with your life? But you need to watch them right now, because David Bowie with the codpiece is the best, the best TV you can watch. And so they just look so amazing, and I'm so excited for this to launch, and I'm sure this is going to be another thing on my list of things that I buy in the quarantine.
Quarantine buys.
Like we're gonna have two piles of shame. It's like, here's my pre-quarantine pile of shame, and here's everything I bought since the pile of shame. And I'm supposed to have been painted so much more because I was quarantined, and actually I did paint a lot more, but then I bought more than I actually painted, so I'm actually worse off in the beginning. That's my prediction. When this is all said and done, folks, you're all going to have bigger piles of shame than when this started.
Maybe if you're like John, you will.
Yeah, I will. I'm just making myself feel better and saying, oh, you're all just like me. You're all terrible people too.
I've never seen anything related to this series, whether it's a TV show or a movie or anything.
You need to watch Labyrinth. Like, you guys are watching movies lately. You will like it. It's dark, it's weird, but it's that meets a traditional fairy tale. There's some creepiness to it. You need to watch it.
Everything you just said, it's weird, it's creepy, it's dark, it's a traditional fairy tale. You know what that makes me think of? I've been trying to get Amber to watch the movie Return to Oz. Have you seen that movie?
I don't think so.
Okay, it's
no.
the sequel to The Wizard of Oz.
Oh, is it it's a recent one, right?
No, it's not. It's in the 80s. It's one of those movies that I watched a lot as a child. Maybe like 3 or 4 times. I don't know why. But it's the sequel to The Wizard of Oz, but it doesn't have Judy Garland in it. And it's not a sequel to the movie, but rather the book. The book is very dark and twisted.
Yep.
And the frickin' movie is a frickin' trip. The main villain is Queen Mombi, and she has a variety of different women's heads in cabinets, and she takes them out and puts them on as she sees fit. So like, that's the kind of thing we're talking about. Dorothy is in a psych ward because of the crazy stuff. She came back from wherever she was, and she's like, I saw a talking tin man, a talking lion. It's like, Dorothy, you're crazy. Go to the psych ward.
Wow.
So it's like, it's crazy. So I imagine if I enjoyed that as a child, which I did, I probably would enjoy Dark Crystal, because it's probably similar beats and similar feeling. I
mean, I enjoy Labyrinth much more than Dark Crystal, but I would say start with Labyrinth. Dark Crystal is all puppets. Labyrinth is like people in puppets. So it's like your gateway drug to puppets.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, they're both good. And the models look crazy. The busts look massive. I can't wait to paint Ludo from Labyrinth. So that's a big thing. Okay. And then the other one I wanted to bring up for news is related to our friends over at Games Workshop with their recent announcement. And have you seen this? Have you heard about this, Scotty boy?
Someone posted a picture of the title of the article in my Discord, and I thought they would just cut off the last 5 words that made sense.
Was it the Spiky Bits article?
No, I don't know what it was.
That one's going around a lot. GW closed indefinitely.
Yeah, I think it was probably this.
Yeah.
Someone took a screenshot of it on their phone, and I was just like, wait, there's got to be more to this. Like, did you cut off the other 10 words of this headline? And it seems like they did not, because that is the full headline. It closed indefinitely.
Yeah, that's the Spiky Bits article, which is trash news, which is trying to grab clicks, and that's how it is. Actually, what I'd recommend is that folks, if you go to the Games Workshop site, they have a sign up for like an e-newsletter, And that's where I learned about this. They send you an email. They send you an email about all sorts of random stuff. It's not always like a monthly newsletter. It's like, hey, we have an appointment announcement, or hey, here's what's releasing this Saturday, and blah, blah, blah. It's a really nice thing, and it's not obtrusive. I can read the emails or I can just delete them. And they sent this out. And it was a nice, your standard, all the businesses are doing their COVID communications these days. And it was their version of, hey, we had said that we were going to have our factories and then our offices closed until I think it was like the 14th of April or 28th or whenever it was. And we're here to tell you that is going to be extended due to the current situation. And we're not yet comfortable. We're always considering the health and safety of our staff and all that kind of stuff. So because of that, we're not reopening right now, and we're not sure when. We're playing that by, basically, I'm paraphrasing, but they were saying playing it by ear, and as things change, they will then reopen when it's deemed safe. That is different than the word closed indefinitely.
Is it? I thought that just meant closed an undefined amount.
Yes. Technically, by the definition of the word, indefinitely, you could categorize it as what they said, but oftentimes it's not perceived that way. Indefinitely means could be forever. Feels more like forever. Feels like a long time.
Yeah, the definition is for an unlimited or unspecified period of time. And definitely the connotation is unlimited, like it's gone forever kind of thing.
Unlimited.
Unlimited power.
So, I mean, that's a big deal, though, because that means that the plants aren't running, the plastic's not coming, the
plastic isn't flowing.
No plastic flow. That means that our whole release schedule for all the new armies and new models and stuff is now all being pushed back. And so that stinks. I don't want to have stupid conehead elves. I want them behind me. I want them in the rearview mirror. All the models are out. Get the hell out of here. Let's move on to the next thing. But no.
Yeah, I need my full vampire army. Obviously, that's coming next, right?
Yeah, absolutely it is.
Yeah. It's unfortunate. Maybe it's good for some people so they can catch up on their backlog, but it's fortunate for GW as a company. Then that income isn't going to be flowing. Maybe if you want to buy some GW stock now is the time. Maybe in 2 weeks from now is the time.
You can buy their gift certificates.
Oh, right. Yeah. Save 10%.
Yeah.
Which maybe if you want to do that just to support GW, that's fine too.
Yeah. Yeah, that's fine. If you're like, I'm going to spend money from them, blah, blah, blah. Although I'd more strongly encourage you to spend that money or buy gift certificates or do orders from your local stores, your local game stores and stuff, because GW still makes their money and you're supporting the people locally. So if you can, I'd recommend you do that. Or if you're like, they don't have an online store, they're closed right now. It's like, well, figure out what models you want when they reopen. Place that order with your local store right away. Help them get grease the old monkey. Grease the wheel. I don't know. Grease the monkey sounds better.
Yeah, just repeat. We should just keep using monkey for all kinds of different phrases.
Yep.
Finger paint the monkey, grease the monkey.
Grease finger paint the monkey. Yeah, that works.
Yeah, we'll go with that. There actually is a paint that's like kind of grease. Rub and Buff. It's kind of like a grease paint.
Oh, yeah.
You put it on, you rub it on, and then like you can literally buff it. I think it has metal in it. I'm not sure. But yeah, that's kind of a grease paint.
I could have an AK interactive enamel paint that's called like engine grease. So I can grease paint. All right, so as we come to the finale of our first ever fully virtual episode of this podcast, what do you think, Scott? How do you think we did?
I think there are some problems we can work out. A lot of times your internet is cutting out and I can't hear what you're saying, and so I have to kind of guess how I should react.
Yeah.
Like was that funny or was that a serious thing? I don't know.
Yeah, yours is doing the same thing for me too, so it's...
Oh, okay, good. That's good to know.
I don't know where it lies, but it's somewhere. I probably blame the 2 people in my house are on 7 devices right now. I don't know.
Yeah,
I have gig.
All of my dogs have cell phones. They're on Instagram right now.
They got to submit their research to the laboratories because they're labs in lab coats.
Yes. I heard that joke. Heard that one.
Yeah, there's some technical things here that I don't know how much we're going to be able to work with, but yeah, I think overall pretty good. Not as much as just like laying back and like being jokey and that kind of stuff. I feel like that's a little bit removed. But anyway, you guys let us know what you think. If we suck and you never want to hear from us again, we'll understand. But if you do, there are ways to support us. Scotty Boy, why don't you kick it off with ways that you can support
Absolutely.
Trapped Under Plastic?
There are a number of ways to support the channel, both free and not free. Some free ways are subscribing to the Trapped Under Plastic YouTube channel, sharing our podcast with your nerd friends, or everywhere where you can find typical podcasts. You can find all the stuff linked in the show notes and also the description for the video. Some non-free ways, you can buy merch from us. We have a Teespring store where you can buy a sweater or a t-shirt or a related t-shirt with our sick logo on it. And you can also support us on Patreon. There's a $2 level and also a $5 level. And the $5 level gets you access to the after party, which is an extended episode of the podcast where we talk about a few things. One, a favorite miniature that we have from someone else in the community. Another thing is we critique one of your guys' miniatures, so you can submit miniatures for us to give feedback on. And then finally, we talk about something new that we experimented with in the last 2 weeks, whether it was a failure or a success or somewhere in the between. But yeah, those are all the ways you can support us.
I think you got it. You got them all, Scott. I feel like our internet connection has gotten worse over the last hour. Like the first hour it was solid. And now it's feeling like we're going to a crawl here. Maybe everybody's up and they're all surfing the internet and watching Netflix at the same time. So
they're all soaking up the bandwidth right now.
Just sucking it all up. Well, I'm on dedicated gig, so they ain't stealing mine. I'm just gonna blame it on you, as is customary. So I hope you guys enjoyed this special and also not special, because this is going to be our format going forward indefinitely and hopefully not forever, because I don't want Scott moving away, because if he would have already moved to Washington instead of Minnesota, they have a lot more infections. And so on you.
So yeah, Amber, take that.
Take that. We're in like one of the best states in the entire country, and you're also in the state with the best hospital in the world. So come on, Amber.
Boom.
Stay home. Stay alive. Don't get the T virus. All right.
The T virus.
We will see everybody in 2 weeks from the publishing of this Monday. And until then, we will catch you
on the flippity flop.